You are listening to Radio Maria Canada. We now present the Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi.
Welcome to the Health Hub. I'm Kathy Biasi, your host, and along with myself and our producer, Alex Diaz, we'd like to welcome you to our show this morning. Today, we've got a great show. We will be talking with the lovely Esosa Edosomwan about her journey from a very successful acting and producing career into the health space. But before that, let's just take care of a few housekeeping issues. First off, today's show is being taped, so no opportunity for calling in. You can keep up to date and informed about our show by following us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. We are at the Health Hub RMC in all three locations. And feel free to email us at thh@radiomaria.ca for more in-depth information from us, or if you'd like to talk to us about something. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are the Health Hub on iTunes, SoundCloud, all your favorite podcast platforms. And you can find our podcast directly on the Radio Maria Canada website, which is radiomaria.ca, and on my website, which is kathybiasi.com. As mentioned, we are talking with Esosa Edosomwan, or Esosa E, as she likes to go by, and she is known as Raw Girl, and she has a website, therawgirl.com, and she's a dynamic certified nutrition specialist, behavioral coach, host of the Staying Ageless Podcast, founder of Staying Ageless University, and a published author. Clients who have worked with Esosa in group and private coaching have lost hundreds of pounds, healed cystic and hormonal acne, achieved hormonal balance pre and post menopause, had cancer downgraded, reversed nutritional deficiencies, prediabetes, diabetes, hypertension, reversed hair loss, and so much more. Esosa specializes in plant-based nutrition and transitioning, women's hormonal balance, weight loss, healing acne and skin conditions, nutrition and lifestyle interventions to enhance beauty and increase longevity, candida and parasite cleansing, and detoxification. Outside of her passion for health, Esosa is an award-winning, globe-trotting producer and actress who has been featured in Glamour, Vogue, The New York Times, Elle, Ebony, Black Enterprise, and more. Wonderful guest, a very, very accomplished woman. And we'll be talking about a lot of things, but here are a few things to wet your whistle. We're going to talk about how Esosa evolved into the health space from such a successful producing and acting career, what longevity means to Esosa and how she has developed it into a successful program, and how hormonal balancing can improve many health issues, including estrogen dominance, estrogen dominant conditions, PCOS, fibroids, acne, hormonal acne, and cystic acne. It's a wonderful show with a wonderful guest.
You are listening to Radio Maria Canada. We now continue with the program, The Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi.
Welcome back, everybody. As mentioned, today's show is being taped, so no opportunity for calling in, but please do follow us on our social sites. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and we are at the Health Hub RMC on all three locations. Esosa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Kathy.
It's definitely a pleasure, and definitely your CV and your areas of interest are just so widespread. It's awesome to have someone like you on our show. How do you mix the producing, the acting, the writing in with nutrition? Where's that commonality for you?
So basically, it's almost like I made a career transition in a sense. But what happened was I'm still in entertainment. It's now I'm more interested in actually combining my two crafts, but basically started out as a producer, actress, writer, in television and film, and also did some theater. I did a one-woman show. And while I was doing those things, wellness for me was a hobby. I've been vegan since I was the age of 13. And when I moved from New York City to Northern Virginia, I actually started a health blog. And starting that health blog, I was writing maybe 3 times a week for years, and really just started nerding out about different things, supplements, food, how nutrition works, all that stuff. And it came out of me kind of healing myself, my own healing crisis. I had acne, chronic fatigue. I didn't really know what the source of all those things were until much later when I became a practitioner, but I had parasitic infection, candida, overgrowth, all these things, and now I help people get over. And so once I figured out how to get over it and my skin was glowing everywhere I went, people wanted to talk to me about it, and writing a blog was the easiest way. I would just direct them to the blog to check out what the latest thing that I was into was. And that was all around flying around to different countries and shooting episodes of a television series that I was producing and acting in and different things. And then I decided, after getting years and years of just messages from people with health problems, asking me if I could help them, and I would always, refer them to a licensed practitioner or finding a medical doctor, I realized I wanted to figure out how to help them. And so I went back to school around my entertainment career and got a master's in nutrition and integrative health. And it took me 5 years to complete it because I was still shooting things and doing other things. And then when I completed it, I kind of made that transition into my own practice, which now we have other practitioners that also work in our practice, a therapist, another certified nutrition specialist, a naturopathic doctor, and focus primarily on women. I primarily see women over the age of 30, but we do get other referrals. And in this short period of time, I kind of got a fast track into seeing thousands of clients with all kinds of health conditions, and we've had really amazing results, primarily because we focus on getting to the root cause of why people are sick in the first place. We're really trying to get them well, and so we want to help them work in tandem with their doctors to get off their medication or to wean off the things that are actually not helping them. And a lot of times, with so many conditions, it's really, really sad. But a lot of times the medical intervention is actually causing the problem to get worse. Mm-hmm. So we deal with, why did this happen in the first place? And then how do we help you balance using nutrition, diet, lifestyle, supplements?
What sets your practice apart from so many other people that are trying to get to root cause, trying to do similar things that you're doing, yet you've developed such a successful practice, and you've also attracted other practitioners? Is it a dynamic personality thing? Is it a certain way of practicing? What has made you so successful under this umbrella?
I think there's a few things. I mean, I think it's because we actually get results. Our clients we get so many referrals. So if someone comes to us with a health issue and leaves without a health issue, they're likely to tell their neighbors, their friends, their mama, their dad, their doctors. You know what I mean? So that happens a lot, where we just get a ton of referrals just based on clients who've come to us with a health problem and left without that health problem. So I can say that our track record is very, very good. And then we really, really care about people, and we try to also make it kind of a fun experience. It's not a really stuffy experience.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's not stuffy at all. Clients message us in our health portal in between appointments, and we actually chat with them. They can message us if they have an emergency. We're kind of like your girlfriend, your best girlfriend in healthcare kind of thing. And people really need that. They want to know that people are advocating for them, that they actually care about their livelihood. And we really, really care. We really do not want anyone to come and have a horrible experience with us. We really want them to get to move them along on their healing journey. Even if they don't make it all the way, we want them to get most of the way. I always want people to come with one problem and leave without it. And I know that's very ambitious, but I think that's part of why we've done so well.
Are you still working directly with clients, or are you now training practitioners to execute your style of care?
So it's a combination of both now. Now I primarily see private clients. My private clients, I have a lot of clients in Hollywood. I have a lot of doctor clients, people who are referred from other clients that were private clients. And so I stay in that realm. And then basically what we've done is taken like successful. So in the early part of my practice, in the first year or so, I just started to deal with certain health issues and realized that there was patterns. So like for hormonal balance, for instance, like my first endometriosis client, which they say is incurable, no longer has endometriosis symptoms. And once I figured that one out, I was like, oh my God, this can apply to fibroids, this can apply to different things, and just kind of like creating these protocols. And I use the word academy, and we use the word university or academy, because basically what I do is I take clients through a learning experience that's both helping them one-on-one with their specific health problems and the root cause, but also teaching them the why behind the things we're telling them, which is really, really important. Yes, and it's a big part of people being compliant and actually wanting to do what you tell them to do. Mm-hmm. If I just tell you to do something and I don't explain to you why, you're less likely to do it.
100%. Education to me is what would keep clients on the bus, right?
Yes.
To understand the why is so very important. Now, are you using supplements, lifestyle, and food, or is it strictly a one-lane area?
No, it's all of the above. I mean, we look at food, of course, because we're nutritionists, and we break down food and we look at the nutrients needed, and we look at foods that need to be removed based on the health condition. We look at people's medications and the nutrition and the nutrients that they actually deplete, because every medication usually depletes some nutrient. There's very few medications that don't have additional side effects nutritionally. So we try to like fill those gaps if we need to. We look at the supplements they're taking. I can't tell you the number of clients who are literally taking a pharmacy worth of supplements for no reason. Yeah. So I'm really big. I am not a supplement pusher. And I think that my clients trust me also because of that. A lot of people really do just overload their clients with all these supplements. And it's like, why are you doing this? Whatever intervention someone should be easy. It should be easy to execute. It should be easy to remember. And sometimes, yes, I'm going to need someone to take more supplements, but I always try to make it manageable for that person and their lifestyle. So we look at supplementation. We also might need additional supplementation that helps, like in the case of hormonal balancing and in the case of some other extreme health conditions, sometimes we have to include different types of herbs or adaptogens or different things if it doesn't interact with any medications they may be taking. And then we look at lifestyle stuff and how they process stress. And there's so many women who process stress in a very destructive way, that basically their body is almost just like absorbing the stress and then creating health problems for themselves. And so we help get to the root cause of that. Like we have a therapist who does therapy that really actually can help reprogram your subconscious mind. That helps a lot for people who deal with trauma or who can't figure out why they keep doing the same kinds of behaviors. But all of this ties back into people's health, because if you are processing stress in a horrible way, and let's say you have a hormonal imbalance, you're contributing to your hormonal imbalance. Every single time you get stressed out and anxious, you're stealing from your progesterone to make cortisol, and you're making yourself more estrogen dominant. So maybe your fibroids are going to grow, or your cyst is going to grow, or whatever it is, right? So it's just trying to help people realize, like, okay, the way that you've been processing, or not, most of the times they're not even processing. They're like, I'm fine. I actually don't feel anything. I'm actually the toughest one on the block. And that's usually a red flag for like, this person is not processing their emotions in a healthy way, and it's contributing to their health condition.
It's amazing, isn't it, how nutrition is obviously key. We're both into the nutrition space, but it's a piece. It's not the entire puzzle. And this stress issue comes up more and more. And I'm glad that more people, especially who are practicing, are addressing this issue, because to me, things start in the head and work their way down. It's definitely an upstream to downstream process of the body.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
So you have a lot of different avenues and different types of issues that you work with. But the one thing I want to clear off the table, your your podcast or your blog and how you start off was in the raw food space. Now, people coming to you, are they clients that are generally in this raw food space, or do you broaden out and do very much an individualistic approach?
No, everything is completely individualistic. I see and work with every single type of diet known to man. I am vegan and been vegan since I was 13 years old. And then at one point I was a raw foodist. I do eat a lot of raw food, but I'm not a raw foodist in, like 100%. I think now I actually teach women. We have a course called Staying Ageless 30 Plus. It's a longevity program. It's an 8-week program. And we actually help people clarify the diet and exercise that's best for them, because it has to be individual. You have to take into consideration genetic factors. You have to take into consideration what actual conditions you have at the time. You have to take into consideration your dosha, your Ayurvedic body type, different things, how your body metabolizes certain types of food. All of these things have to be taken into consideration. And after I figured this out for myself, I was like, I want other people to understand this so they can stop chasing keto and chasing paleo and chasing whatever they think at the moment might be cute on Google, and really focus on what actually works for me. How do I feel when I eat certain things? Maybe I need a little bit more protein, or maybe I don't. And then just really honing in and sticking with that, because now you know yourself, right? Instead of you being swayed by every single diet book or every single blog post that you come across on the internet.
It's so true. And it's so confusing to people. They think they're going to the right source, and it can be the right source for some people. But the individualized approach to me is key. Now, are you using different testing techniques, or how do you get to really to the basis of where or the direction you want your client to go in?
It's really I look at their dosha and Ayurveda. That gives a lot of information. I look at what health imbalances they have and what habits they have. That gives me a lot of information. Also, if I know their dosha, I look at their, basic things like their labs. Are they deficient in certain things? You know what I mean? All those things. And then I look at their presenting problem, and I figure out based on their body type how to solve that issue. So some people, we have clients who, have needed to gain weight, and they're very much Vatas and Ayurveda. And so I know exactly what to do. I need to increase their actual carbohydrate intake, the healthy carbs. I need to get them to actually weight train and do other things, and they always gain weight. And then there are other people who are really, really carb sensitive, or they really need to exercise in order to lose weight. So I'm looking at these things, I kind of honed all these things before I started my practice when I was working at a weight loss clinic, and I had 300 plus patients per month, and it was all different body types, ethnicities. And it was so fascinating to me how some people would hit a plateau and some people wouldn't. But I started to figure out all the different things to look for, all the things to really hone in on what is this person's body going. And then also, what are some lifestyle things that can interrupt, especially with weight loss. People don't consider sleep that much, but until I started being really intense about my clients' sleep when I was trying to get them to lose weight, it was impossible. You can't lose weight if you are sleeping 3 hours a night. It's just not possible.
100%. I mean, you're ringing all the bells that I just find are so important to the whole health picture. Before we go to break, what I want you to do is to explain what a dosha is, because you've used the word a couple of times, and I'm sure there are people out there that aren't quite clear on what that means.
Sure. It's basically, Ayurveda has main body types. So you can think of it as a body type, or a part that makes up a body type. And the 3 different major ones are Vata, Kapha, and Pitta. And usually we're a combination of 2, and one is more dominant. So I'm actually Pitta Vata. And when I know what my dosha is, what it does is it tells me a lot about behavioral things that may throw me off balance. It can tell me a lot about how I gain and lose weight. It can tell me all kinds of really interesting and fascinating information. And so it's just a tool to kind of understand, hey, this is where I may fit in. And then I also need to look at other things like your family history of disease, things like that, which are really important.
Is this just determined by an intake form, or is there particular testing that's done for this?
Well, if someone was trying to figure out, they can go to an Ayurvedic practitioner who who could do something more formal. I basically have figured out how to, I can figure someone's dosha out just by asking a few simple questions. There are
Excellent.
there are dosha quizzes available online. Some are better than others. There's one on the site called Holistic Highway. That's a decent one, dosha quiz. But yeah, you can generally, it's not hard to figure out your dosha just based on the typing. You can generally kind of figure out like, oh, this one must be predominant. And then once you get that information, you have a lot of information about even personality. Sometimes my clients feel like I'm strangely too familiar with them when we just met, but that's just because I understand their dosha and their behaviors.
That's very interesting. It's actually not a piece that's talked about too much unless you're going to an Ayurvedic doctor. And that's again, this is another specialty that the listeners can interact with to get to know your health a bit better. But very happy that you brought this up, because it's not something actually that we talk a whole lot about on this show. And, maybe we should a little bit more, because obviously it's an important piece to that whole picture that we're trying to put together as to what our best health is. Now, so what we're going to do is go to a break. And then when we come back, we're really going to get into these two key areas and programs that you're offering to people to really, really push them ahead in specific areas of their health. So everybody, we will be back in a couple of minutes.
You are listening to The Health Hub here on Radio Maria Canada, a Catholic voice wherever you are. To contact us and be a part of the show, email thh@radiomaria.ca. We now continue with the program. Here once again is your host, Kathy Biasi.
Welcome back, everybody. We're talking with Esosa E, and we're talking about her practice and her method of care when it comes to her clients. Now, Esosa, you've got two areas that you're really specializing in, that you really had a lot of success with when it comes to your clients' health care, and that's longevity and hormonal balance. So let's take some time to really give our listeners an idea of the programs that you're offering and how you put them together.
Yeah, sure. So the first one is Staying Ageless 30 Plus, and that was actually the first program that I designed right after leaving the weight loss clinic and starting my practice. And that was based on me observing all these different people trying to lose weight, trying to do different things, and also based on years of I had started interviewing men and women over the age of like 60 plus, who were just in great shape. They were like sharp mentally, physically they were great. They had great diets and regimens. And I was just really interested in what the common factor was in all those people. And so I used a combination of, I wanted to be able to address a wide range of issues in Staying Ageless 30 Plus. And I also wanted to be able to address people's understanding of what diet and exercise is best for them and their behaviors. So the issue for a lot of people is not what do I do, but oh my God, I can't seem to get this together. Like they can get it together for a really short period of time and then they fall off and then they kind of do this yo-yo thing, right? And so my whole thing was, how do I create a program that makes people transforms their habits in a way that models after these like living longevity examples. Because basically what you realize when you talk to these people is that they're just people who just did the same thing day in and day out for a really long time. Like they always did their smoothie, or they always did their workouts. Like people like Jack LaLanne, who literally had the same workout regimen for like 20 years. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you're like, wow. So all I have to do is get myself to be this well-oiled habit machine. But the hard part is life, right? There's all these things in the way. So in the 8-week program, what we do is in the first 4 weeks, I do these lectures that kind of give them real clarity on their body, their exercise, what diet and what exercise is best for them. And then we also get into habit forming, how to create healthy habits and how to get rid of habits that you don't want. And in those lectures, a lot of transformation happens because they're getting a lot of information. And in week 2 of the program, we actually meet with them one-on-one. Why? Because we need to address their specific health issues. So we've had women join our class and have success on a range of things. People losing 30 pounds, 25 to 30 pounds in the 8-week program, people getting off of all of their medications. Women last class had serious anxiety and gastrointestinal issues and ended with none of them. We've had people with hormonal balance, and usually with hormonal balance, we tell them to do a longer program because we need more time with them, but they still normalize their periods within a short period of time. So really cool stuff, people's skin improving, their habits improving. But the great part is when we also get, feedback from people a year later being like, hey, I've lost another 30 pounds, or I've continued. And that's really what I wanted. I wanted to we're activating you on so many levels, because in that first 4 weeks, you're learning, you're also getting one-on-one attention. And then the last 4 weeks, we do group coaching just to kind of help people through implementing the actual rituals and things that they need to do. And so you get activated from so many levels. You're activated from the actual group. You're activated because you got to answer to me and my associate, Gina, who's also a certified nutrition specialist. And then you're activated, just through seeing other women like get results. People get excited. Some people are struggling and they're like, they're having a tough time when they get to the group coaching. And usually those people are the people with the best results, because they start to see other people get results and they're like, oh my God, I should drink more water, or, oh my God, I really should get that workout in. And sometimes we need that. We need a community around us to push ourselves forward. So it's a combination of so many things. It's like, the education, the community, the one-on-one attention to address their specific condition. But it really mattered to me that the one-on-one attention was a part of it, because a lot of people do group programs, but then you kind of leave feeling like no one saw me and really helped me address my specific issue.
And accountability too. It's not just community, it's accountability. And that, yes, that scientific, the research in that area about being accountable, writing down goals, having to report, that is a difference maker. And it's, we were in the day and age of a lot of online programs, and I've developed an online program too. And from that process, and a piece that I was missing, I think, is this direct dealing with individuals. And I think what you've done and how you've put your program together here is an important piece, that you are dealing one-to-one with somebody, because I think people need that now. We've gone a long way. These online programs are awesome, but I think we really also do need to incorporate that personal piece. Now, with respect to longevity, can you give me sort of a definition of what you mean by longevity? It's not just a number of years, is it?
No, it's not just a number of years. I guess it's just, when we think of longevity, yes, like the people that I've interviewed, like, Bernardo Lapaya, when I interviewed him, he was 109. I believe he died at 114. And when I interviewed him at 109, he was functioning like a 70-year-old. He even looked like he was 70. It was really amazing. And so it's just really like, hey, the best quality of life I can have for the longest lifespan I can have. I don't want to be on medications, right? Popping pills, or not able to walk, not able to take care of myself, not able to function. And these people that these people that I consider living longevity examples are literally living very full, very balanced, very active lives at a very advanced age, basically. And I think we've normalized aging very fast, as if that's just, that's just the way it is. Like, you hit 30 and it goes downhill from there, but that's not the way it actually has to be. And so I hope to inspire people to just reconsider that. And part of the way you get to longevity is to not be sick. So a lot of women who come to our class, there are some people who come and they're just literally trying to level up their habits, and they want to just, they don't have a major health issue. But then there's a lot who come who are already sick. And obviously, if you want to achieve longevity, you got to get over whatever is bothering you to begin with, right? So you have to, if you're already imbalanced, you need to get back to balance first and then work towards longevity.
It's a quality of life thing. We're all going to tap out at some point, and you want to make sure that those years are healthy, fulfilling years. And I think that's an important piece. It's not just how long you live, it's how well you live. And I think programs like this are becoming more and more popular. And I think the reason is because we are, I don't know if it's because of what's gone on in the world in the last couple of years or year and a half, but we are becoming more in tune with the importance of developing these habits for a healthy life. To me, everything is circular. And we're coming back to this space of taking care of our health. Now, you also dive deeply into the area of hormones. Now, is this just with women, or do you have male clients as well? And how do you approach this area of health?
It's just with women. Basically, what happened was we were minding our own business, feeling referrals from people and getting a lot of clients coming to us. But for me, it was day after day being on the phone with a prospective client who had fibroids, who had endometriosis, who had PCOS, who had adenomyosis, who had premenstrual dysphoric syndrome, or whatever it is. Like, just so much. There were so many women with fibroids that it was overwhelming. And I was like, okay, this is an actual epidemic. This is actually really disturbing. And I just felt like we need to do something so that we can not only help these women get to their end goal. Like, one of my recent clients who started with me, her fibroid was 4.83 centimeters, shrunk to 1.44, something like that. Oh. Her OB/GYN almost passed out. And she worked with
me. After
how
long was that?
6 or 7 months. So it takes a moment. That's why the Hormonal Balancing Academy is 6 months long. And we do that because we're not going to lie to you and tell you that somehow you're going to have some sort of amazing turnaround in 2 days. Like, your cycle, everything that happens to a woman's cycle. So in that 28 days, the next cycle is going to reflect, right? So I need enough time to not only impact, but a lot of these women are being given therapies and hormones and birth control and things that actually are making their fibroids grow. And you usually have to wean them off of that first. So that's actually what I had to do with that client. She was on birth control when I met her, and it was actually causing other problems. And we had to wean her off of the birth control and then address the hormonal imbalance issue, which then started to shrink her fibroid. But if she had stayed on the birth control, which was her doctor's suggestion, it actually would have just grown the fibroid.
Well, here's the difference, right? Dealing with the symptomology versus dealing with the root cause. And right. I think as people, this is just my impression from what I've seen develop, I think as people become more understanding that they need to get more to the root cause, patience is being developed because, as you said, these things have taken years to metamorphosize into certain conditions, and they take a while to remedy when you're going about dealing with, deep down changes, root cause changes in the body system.
Definitely. And like I was mentioning earlier, it's like when you're dealing with hormonal imbalance, you also have to look at trauma. Like, I have so many clients who have trauma, molested, raped, whatever. And that also, then they end up with fibroids later. They have to also address that trauma, which is why we have a therapist. So they have to address the trauma. They have to address how they're processing stress. They have to then look at their overall lifestyle. So sleeping well, hydrating well, nutrition-wise, cutting things out that can contribute to hormonal imbalance or estrogen dominance, depending on what their condition is. And then, with things that are more complex, so estrogen dominance issues for me are not as tricky as like things like PCOS, which we've recently really, really figured out as well, but it's really different for each person. So we've had several women with PCOS now. One who was infertile, got pregnant. The other two got their period after years and years of not having their period. But again, it's looking at that individual because PCOS presents with so many different issues. There could be insulin resistance issues, thyroid issues, and then obviously weight gain issues, the excessive androgens. And then you have weird versions where people have PCOS, they have both. They have PCOS and fibroids, right? So it's like, oh my God, how's that even happening? So you just have to look at it case by case and with PCOS or like a lot of the androgen related stuff and then address it there because it's not as simple. I find estrogen dominance issues to be much more simple to treat and to address in a broader sense. But when it comes to the other side of the spectrum, you really have to really pay attention to that person and like, okay, how are they presenting? Because there are people with PCOS who are overweight, and there are people with PCOS who are completely skinny, and some have cystic acne, or they have something else presenting that's, you know what I mean? That's a result of their hormonal imbalance. So
how easy is it for you to get people to talk about trauma? I mean, this is not something that a lot of people are comfortable with in talking to, say, a nutrition professional, and B, may not even think that it's a part of the puzzle. Is this something that you've cultivated? Is this something that you're just realizing is more important to the whole part of health? How do you go about dealing with that?
Well, it's very integral, and because I'm coming at it from a holistic perspective, I ask questions around this. And again, we're like your girlfriends in healthcare, so people are very comfortable with us. It might take them a second, but generally speaking, my clients are very comfortable with me and they trust me. And so even in that first session, things may come up. And yes, a lot of people do go, well, I didn't even think that was related, but yeah, I was raped when I was 6, or this and this, you know what I mean? And they bring it up, and then you're like, oh my goodness. And that's when we usually like figure out whether or not they need additional therapy from our therapist, or if they need, like, because we do the dynamic change therapy, which deals with the subconscious mind, or if they need a traditional therapist, or they might already be seeing one, which is great. But we basically want to make sure that they're aware that unresolved trauma can contribute to their issue, you know? And because they feel comfortable with us, they do tell us these things. My clients tell me all their business, but that's because they can trust me.
Well, and that comes with great care, because people can, especially women, I find, have a little bit more trouble opening up sometimes. And I think that level of trust is an absolute necessity if you're going to get to the whole picture. What do you feel are your greatest areas of it? Where are you looking in the future? Are you cultivating these programs? Are you looking at adding more space to your website and your practice? Where do you see your future going?
Well, I'm really interested in figuring out how to. I went to business school. A lot of people don't know this, but I went to business school, and you
are certainly a very well-rounded woman.
Thank you. Thanks to my parents, my very intense Nigerian parents. So I think about problems from a health perspective, also like an entrepreneur, and I'm really interested in trying to figure out how to help a really large number of people. And I'm still in the process of doing that, but I know that there's limitations to one-on-one, and I really, really like one-on-one, and I one-on-one will never not have its place. But the reason why I'm, developing these programs and thinking about things in sort of repeatable processes is because I'm interested in how do I solve, like this fibroid thing is an actual epidemic. Like it doesn't stop. And then the misinformation that people are getting in medical spaces is very sad, right? So we need to somehow I'm interested in educating women so they really understand how their period actually works, how they're, what it looks like when they are hormonally imbalanced, and how to address these things. But a lot of people can't afford my services. A lot of people can't afford to be my private client. And I'm aware of that. And I don't love that. So I'm also like, there's only one of you. It's like, how can you make something or create something that can help a lot more people? And so that's kind of where my mind is at now.
I think that you're doing it already. And you may not give yourself enough credit because the things you've written, your public personality, I think bringing the conversation to the table is an absolute gift that you're giving people, because once you get people asking, even if they can't ask you, once those questions are in their mind, people tend to look for answers. So keep on doing what you're doing and bring forth, your perspective on health, the individualized. And I understand the individual piece. well, we don't want it to ever go away, because as practitioners, that's honestly how we learn a lot, isn't it? By working one-on-one with people. So we don't want to lose that space. But I think you're gifting people with knowledge and with your intelligence. And even if they can't work with you one-on-one, they can figure out pathways to try and get their answers. So I give yourself credit on that space for sure.
Thank you.
So if people wanted to get in touch with Esosa, if they're looking to join your program, is it a continual, are there windows in the program, or is it something that is offered throughout the year?
So the Hormonal Balancing Academy is offered ongoing. If you do have any sort of hormonal issue, horrible periods, fibroids, endometriosis, PCOS, we've had women with adenomyosis, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, all kinds of things come through. That one is open all the time. The Staying Ageless 30 Plus program, we usually do it twice a year, and the next cohort is actually going to close this month. So if you would like to join, definitely go to our website, which is therawgirl.com, and you can sign up for a 20-minute call there. Or you can go to stayingagelessuniversity.com, and that's where you'll find also to the Hormonal Balancing Academy, and the other, and Staying Ageless. You'll actually see like an outline of what is in the program and what you get.
Wonderful. Now, any movement on the acting front, the producing front, or is that sort of put at rest at the moment?
It's not at rest. It's just, yes, there is movement. So when there's something to talk about, I definitely will tell everyone. And I'm really excited also too about working on some stuff to combine nutrition and producing and all that stuff. So that's exciting.
Awesome. Well, wonderful work. Thank you so much for sharing your passions and your knowledge with us. It's been a real pleasure to have you on our show today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Everybody, we'll talk to you next week on The Health Hub.
You have been listening to The Health Hub, hosted by Kathy Biasi, here on Radio Maria Canada. Canada.